Thank you, Acting Madam Deputy Chair. Look, I support this motion to a degree. I think that there should be some facts put on the table. My understanding of it was that the crime that was alleged against Julian Assange should have been actually put on to some Guardian journalists who actually released the encryption code that gave access to the WikiLeaks file. That was actually by the Guardian, and these particular journalists actually wrote down the encryption code in a book that they wrote about WikiLeaks. So I fail to see why Julian Assange is actually being held accountable for this particular so-called crime, and not the Guardian journalists who released the actual encryption code. I'm also led to believe that there was another, leaker of data that also leaked similar files that Julian Assange is accused of being guilty of, and the US government isn't actually going after them. Furthermore, it's been reported that Robert Gates said that no Afghani troops were actually put at risk, interpreters, or no American soldiers or Australian soldiers, I'm led to believe. So, look, I don't necessarily think that we should be putting our troops in jeopardy when it comes to these wars, but at the same time, I do believe in the role of free speech, and I do think that we need to hold governments to account for the decisions that they make when they start to go into other countries. Now, what's particularly annoying about the Assange case is that he was basically disclosing information in regards to the Iraq war. Now, I think everyone in this chamber agrees that the Iraq war was a gross violation of human rights. There was never any biological weapons of mass destruction. The whole thing seemed to be a setup. I mean, my view on this is, the year before that this war was started, Saddam Hussein said that he was going to start accepting payment for oil in the euro, and anyone that's followed the machinations of the International Bank of Settlements and prior wars throughout history knows that whenever you start to attack in a currency, that is when the bankers come in. And we saw that with when they took out Gaddafi. He was talking about bringing in the African dinar backed by gold. That's not just my opinion. A bloke by the name of Sidney Blumenthal, who's an advisor to Hillary Clinton, that was later leaked on WikiLeaks. He advised against that as well. We know after World War II that the Bank of England was nationalised, and all the debts from World War II were stuck into the Bank of England. Hence, that was the way the wealth was transferred from the old world to the new world, similar to World War I, where Germany copped all the debts. So I think that there needs to be much greater scrutiny, and it's very unfair to hold Julian Assange to account for basically trying to get to the bottom, for me personally, of what was going on in the Iraq war. That just went on. I mean, yet again, that went on, and this is what I fear with the Ukraine crisis, that it's just going to become this perpetual war machine, and eventually it'll slip into the back pages, but there'll be still people getting massacred in Ukraine or shot to bits in the Ukraine in 10 years' time, because, it suits the journalists or whatever for the deep state to push this stuff back into the back pages. So I support... Look, and the other thing that needs to be noted is I thought, it's... Where do you draw the line today between what is journalism? It's, I know that there was a court case in 1971 where the US military tried to take the New York Times to account for an article they posted about My Lai massacre, was that the one? My Lai, sorry, apologies. And the New York Times won that because the court in the US upheld the freedom of speech and the right to know. And I believe that, obviously, as we transition into the internet world, bloggers and all that sort of thing are entitled to freedom of speech. Like I said, I don't think we should jeopardise our troops, but the point is that there has been no evidence shown whereby anything that was leaked out of WikiLeaks jeopardised any troops. The war in Iraq and Afghanistan is now over, so there is no longer an ongoing threat to any of that information that was leaked. But furthermore, the question needs to be asked is, why is it a Julian Assange in jail under heinous conditions when other people that were more responsible for many more deaths aren't actually having the finger pointed at them and being asked, well, how did we get into this situation in the first place? So I think in the name of humanity, I think in the name of our relations, and this is not an attack on the people of the US, or Great Britain. It's an attack on the deep state that has taken over these countries' governments.
Thank you, Senator Rennick. Your time has expired. Senator White.
Julian Assange in his legal proceedings has